Hey, you YouTube, it's Will from Will Development. This is my 414th weekly update. Um, things are going pretty okay this week. We've got just about 5 weeks till showtime, so that means about 3 more weeks to actually get stronger, if that. Um, I guess realistically, 2.5 to 3 weeks is realistic in terms of actually getting stronger, but I'm feeling pretty good with all the events going in so far. Um, the deadlift is probably going to be, I don't want to say a rough one for me, but it's not going to be easy either. Um, I'm hoping to get somewhere around 7 to 8 reps day of, which I'm not sure what my goal was at the beginning of all this. I'd probably have to go back and look if I even talked about it, but right now where things stand, getting 5 to 8 with that particular weight would be good for me. Obviously, it'd be nice to get even more. We'll see. I'll have the number 10 in my head, and if I get less than that, and that's where we're at. I actually ran the medley last week, and I had a half a mind to do it this week, but then kind of the rain washed me out, so I said, you know what? I'll just do it next week, go a little bit lighter on the deadlifts, and we'll just kind of back and forth the weeks there. The sandbag's coming along very nicely. I've found where I need to be with things in terms of the sandbag. The extension's always been my weakest part of any sort of loading event. I can pick just about anything off the ground if I can get my arms around it, but the actual extension has always been an issue of mine. So I've been working on that a lot more throughout this prep, and I've sort of found a way that's going to work for me. I have kind of max numbers in my head, which I think I talked about this last week. Something like 15 on the deadlift would probably be the most anybody could get, and then maybe 8 to 10 at the most for the sandbag over bar. I mean, that's if you're just running and never slow down, basically, because it's just logistically, it's just how can you get back and forth that quickly? It's going to take 4 to 6 seconds. It's just that simple. And really 6 seconds is more likely. The dumbbell, I mean, a God tier level guy could probably get maybe 10 in 1 every 6 seconds or so. I don't anticipate anybody in my group actually being able to get to that number. At this point with the dumbbell, I'll be happy to get the 1, just to not have that 0, because if I 0, there's just no way I'm going to have any good placing. It's the story of my life with strongman. They usually start with a press event, and then usually what ends up happening is I 0 it, and then there's no way for me to recover. It just puts me way too far down. And that's just reality of anything in strongman. If you 0 an event, your odds of getting to the top are basically just that 0, because it's just the way the numbers add up. It's not possible. You get 0 and then get first on everything else. But if another guy just got second on everything, he's going to beat you. It's just that simple. Even the guy who didn't get second on anything is going to beat you. Just getting no points on something is just it's very detrimental towards the game, and it's been the story of my life competing for a while now. I'm very much so looking to change that at this comp. It's going to be a challenge, but the cool thing about this particular comp is having these numbers in mind, knowing what I need to hit and what I need to do. It gives you something to train for, and it sort of opens your eyes a little bit to sort of what you're capable of when you go, okay, I have to be around here to have a chance. And it's like, all right, when I first started the prep, the 135 bag was, I don't want to say it was tough, but it beat me more than it probably should have. And then now, I'm working with a 195-200 bag, and it feels easier than my first week with the 135. You know what I mean? So that's good. That's improvement, And then, confidence with the dumbbell is definitely going up. Today was a rougher one. Got like 90% of the work done that I had planned. Hit a bit of a snag first thing. One of the collars just slipped off, and then when I went to grab the bell, the plate slipped down and pinched like these first three fingers on this hand, and man, it really hurt. I've been just trying to keep it moving to just keep it from bruising too bad. If it even does bruise, who knows? It may have just been more mental than anything, but it definitely was in the back of my head the whole time. Luckily I pressed with the right arm, so it wasn't too bad, but it definitely, like, every once in a while I would kind of flare up and give me a little pain tonight, so it is what it is. Like I said, I am getting more confidence with that movement, which is what I need. Especially above the 100-pound limit, that's kind of where my brain starts getting jittery, so to speak, and it's definitely more mental than anything. Because I've had sets where I clean and press, 105 pounds, and it's just psh, psh, nothing for two, you know what I mean? And it's just butter. And then I've had these sets where I clean it, get it on my shoulder, and I'm like, I can't do anything with this. And so it's weird, but my confidence is getting better with it at the very least. And like I said, even not the plan, but even if things don't go exactly according to plan at this next show, I'll still be a better competitor because of the training, and having to push myself towards things, I kind of maybe wouldn't have worked towards before. It's tough looking at the last show and trying to pick apart the mistakes that I made, because, that's when, even when you win, you probably did make mistakes, and where could you improve, that sort of thing. I think the worst is when you look and you go, I did everything right and still didn't do it, Sort of the beauty in strength sports is even when you do everything right but still lose, well, the answers just get stronger then, a lot of times. But yeah, I look back at the last show, and I kind of look at where I could have improved, and on the yoke. My start was really good. I just wasn't fast. And if I was just stronger, it wouldn't have mattered that I was running it uphill, that kind of thing. But yeah, I should have been able to run a 600-pound yoke over 50 feet in under 10 seconds. It's just that simple. That's what I should have been able to do. And the reality is, even without the drop, I probably still would have only had about a 12-second run. The dumbbell, honestly, that was just inexperience, and I don't want to say overconfidence, but I really believed I had that at that show, and the reality was, I didn't have any sort of good technique or consistent technique, and that showed. And that that day, even though the dumbbell was wet, if I had the technique I have now, I actually maybe would have had a chance to get that dumbbell that day. It's just that simple. If I was stronger, it would have changed things a little bit, So I'm trying to remedy those mistakes going into this next show. Just being stronger and being faster. It's just that simple. Especially on the medley. That's really the one where speed is going to kill. And, on the farmer's part, I'm pretty confident in it. In my ability to grip and rip and just run those. The yoke part is the part that's slowing me down, and I have to sort of get in my head of untraining this whole checklist and 10-second setup in my head and turn that into, just get under and run and hope for the best. That's what I sort of need to change it into, because you just don't have time with a minute and 4 different paths to go over 40 feet. You just do not have time. And I think the numbers to beat there, I think total time, I think if somebody does it faster than 50 seconds, I don't want to say my mind would be blown, but it would be very impressive. I think for the most part, that particular medley is going to come close to down to the wire. for most of the competitors. I think the fastest time I could fathom somebody doing that would be 40 seconds. And that's literally 10 seconds per implement. Over 40 feet, I mean, you pick those farmers and run, you'd have to run it in 7 seconds. Pick the yoke, run that in 7. Pick that, run it in 7. You know, that kind of thing. And it's just like, to keep that up for a whole minute, not impossible, but I just, man, it's a tough sell for me. So, if somebody could run it in 40, that would be very impressive, and I would have zero shame in losing to that. I'm hoping to get somewhere in the 45 to 50 second range. Or just finish the damn thing. That would be nice. Yeah, so I think the other thing I need to train myself is if I have a drop, not to react poorly to it. Just stick to the plan. Even if there is a drop, stick to the plan and just keep running. Because you're only allowed one drop per movement, per leg of the medley. So if I were to drop the yoke, I don't have time to sit there, reset, make sure it's perfect. I have to just pick it again and run. And sort of the reality of the situation is if I were to drop it during one leg, it's kind of over. That's just it anyway. I wouldn't quit, obviously, but it's sort of, I don't want to say relieving in a way, but that's the way I'm sort of going to have to mentally prepare for it, because if I drop it, anything along the way, you know, that's going to cost me 2 seconds right there. And those 2 seconds are probably going to be the things that, it's the difference between winning and losing anyway. So at that point, it's sort of like, well, I'm going to get third. I'm not going to zero it. So I might as well just, you know, go for broke and just go crazy and just try to run this as fast as possible. There's no penalties, so far as I know, for dropping. So, you know, there's that. But it's sort of that thing where it's like, man, you drop it, you just lost 2 seconds there. You need to just run it even faster now and just do it. So yeah, there's a lot to think about. The sandbag toss, I mean, that's just going to be, pun intended, up in the air. You know, I've gotten a 35-pound bag over 15 feet before. In reality, it's probably more like 14.8, something like that. But you know, that makes me pretty confident I can get a 25, a 30, and a 40 over 13 feet, no question. A 50-pound bag is going to be something different. I believe I misunderstood it. I think they weren't going to do split times if you don't finish all 4 bags. But if you finish all 4 bags, then they are going to split the time. So it may be the thing where, just knowing me, odds are I will be going first on that event. So because I'm going first, I just have no choice but to just try to get all 4 bags over as quickly as possible. I would like to know the setup, because if it's just like a yoke, you know, which is usually about, I don't know, 3 to 4 feet wide, if that, that's going to be a tough one, because honestly, the 25-pound bag, I could probably throw it from 10 to 15 feet away from the yoke and still make it over. 25 is not a heavy weight. Even I can get 25 over 13 feet from quite a distance. The 30, that might be a 2 steps back and then throw. The 40, probably going to want to get kind of close to it. And then that 50, I'm going to just take my time and just wait for that right groove and just, you know, throw it and hope for the best. You know, I've done the Highland Games where it's a 52-pound, but you're only using one arm. And I couldn't even get that, like, over my head, essentially. So maybe 2 hands will be different. I'm stronger than I was back then. You know, we'll just have to wait and see. We'll just, you know, I really have to play that event by ear and just do my best to try to be fast on it. It's just that simple. I mean, that's all these events. But, you know, the reality is I'm not going to kill myself if it's not worth it, you know, and at some points there is that whole, like, why would I bother? It's tough for me, though, sometimes to keep that in mind, because I do want to show that I'm not quitting. I think one event, you know, one thing that comes to mind and then I'll cut this video because I've been talking too long. One thing that comes to mind, I remember at the Orlando Strongman earlier this year, you know, the Atlas Stone Press, and I remember the the only other person in the class, Steve, he went up and I think he did 12 or 13, which is like probably the most you could have possibly done in that event. And honestly, the reality is I should have just gone up and just done one and just said cool. Because I think I killed myself for like 6 or 7, and I was like, yeah, there was no way I was going to get to 13. What was I even thinking? Just do one so you don't zero the thing and walk away, because why bother, you know? That being said, I do like to give a good show to the crowd if I can. Nobody wants to see a 0 or somebody who just kind of half-asses things, so there's that aspect of it too. But I will not be playing to the crowd at this show in December. This is just me going to do the damn best I can, going into a show as strong as I can. I mean, I know I said that about the Scorcher, but you know, and I meant that then too, and I mean this one now. That I really do feel like I'm going to be the strongest I've ever been going into the show, and you know, I'm just going to have to just push and push and push, and just hope that that it's enough. And sometimes that's just all you can do. Yeah. So just keep pushing, and if you don't, then what's your excuse?